Welcome everybody, Boyd here with you again, and I'm just making a little video today to show you the progress I'm making on our Lady Be Good diorama. And I actually don't have a lot of time in this at all, a couple of hours, just kind of fiddling around here. Last evening I got quite a bit done on it, and I just wanted to go through you guys and show you what I've been doing to get this whipped into shape here. I'm really happy with this little Minicraft 1/144 scale model kit. Not a lot of detail on the inside, which I really didn't care about, but the outside looks great. And for being a simple little kit, it's pretty nicely detailed. I'll just kind of talk about what I did to get started here. The very first thing I did was I painted the inside of both fuselage halves with that sort of olive drab green that we always saw on the World War II aircraft, because I knew you'd be able to see a little bit of that. There is no detail at all in the interior. Maybe I think there's some seats and a dashboard in the cockpit, and that's it. There's nothing as far as bombardier, navigator, gunner positions, or even the tail gunner, just the outside. So, you know, I didn't go too crazy with that. And then after I got that painted, I glued the two fuselage halves together, and then I worked on the front end replacement that I talked about. Now there's two little scribe lines that they show you where you got to cut the whole front half of the airplane off to replace the J front end with the D front end. They give you the two parts for that. They're molded in clear, so you got to mask off the little spots where the windows are, which was no problem. And got that all put on, and it actually worked to my advantage a little bit here, because looking at the photographs of the wreck site, the airplane, when it came down, it landed pretty hard on the nose, and it sort of twisted the front end of the airplane from about the canopy forward, slightly askew. And so I purposely glued that piece on a little bit crooked to kind of mimic that. I was actually worried if I had to do that on my own, how I was going to work that out, but that solved that problem for me. And so you'll be able to see that a little bit better when we put it on the actual base, the diorama. But that worked out really good. So then we have the separate blister here in clear, the canopy is in clear, all the little gun emplacements are in clear and everything, so we just kind of went around working on those. After I got the front end done, I decided to figure out where my cut needed to be to separate the fuselage, and it's just aft of the main wing spar. And so I just cut straight down, and then I took my Dremel tool with a cutting disc on it and just kind of made little jagged edges on it. I thought I was going to actually have to do that with some foil or whatever, but it turns out, again, looking at the photographs, it was a pretty clean break. They didn't, it didn't tear away a lot of the outer skin or anything like that. It kind of stayed intact, basically broke right where it was put together. So that wasn't too hard to do. It just kind of, roughed it up a little bit, made it look a little bit jagged. And then I used that same method. I took my Dremel tool and I cut off the existing ailerons and the existing rudders, and then just took some really tiny thin strip of sprue and just glued together all this framework on here, and came up with our kind of, ragged, tagged, 8-away cloth control surfaces, and just kind of brought that detail up a little bit. And I think that probably is the best thing that I did to this so far that really made it look a lot like the actual wreck. And so that all worked out really good. And I guess going beyond that, what it came to was getting it painted. Now, I looked at some original camo paint jobs from aircraft in World War II that were operating out in the desert, or, in Africa and Libya and places like that. And they were a little bit more rich of a brown than this. But what I decided there were some fairly nice color pictures of the aircraft, of the wreck site. And the color didn't match what the, what the original paint scheme looked like. And it was probably due to weathering and fading. So I kind of tried to match the color that I could see in the photos, and it looks like, instead of being a more of a reddish looking brown, it's now more sort of faded and things like that. Now I'm going to be going over this with some artist chalk and stuff like that. Once I get it down on the base, I'm going to dusty it up a little bit more and make a little bit more paint fading and stuff like that. But this is just my basic, basic color that I'm starting off with here to kind of get me in the ballpark. And so that worked out really good. Just mix that up with some craft paint. You can see I just mixed everything up in little cups here in the background. Now, here's the pieces that I cut off from the front. I just thought I'd show you what those look like. Pretty simple. The other detail that I added was these gunner position hatches here are just molded onto the, onto the fuselage. So I cut those out and filed them all open and got them looking really good. So that's the way they looked, at the wreck. I don't know if they were intact when the plane first came down, or somebody removed those when they were doing the inspection. It's kind of hard to tell. There was stuff, strewn all around the aircraft that was taken out of the interior, so it's kind of hard to tell what was originally there and what people had messed with once they found it. But I just kind of figured that would add a little bit more detail either way. And then the de-icers here on the front of the wings and on the tail are just some vinyl pinstripe that I cut down to size and then stuck it on there. A lot easier to do that than to try to paint all that on there. Now, the painting that I did on this also, I couldn't find a decal set for this. I thought for sure there might be. I did find one set, but it was for RC aircraft, and the scale of it was just like massively way too huge. I think they were like 1/12 scale or something like that. So all the name and the numbers on the plane have all been hand painted on. I just took a really fine tip brush and put my magnifying glasses on and just got down there and had at it with the craft paints, and I think it came out pretty good. The Lady Be Good's actually kind of almost totally obscured from the airplane. It got like sand blasted off of there, but I decided to put it back on there just to have it, there, and then I'll kind of dust over it a little bit to make it look a little bit more faded when I get to the final steps. I'll kind of try to show you the other side here a little bit. You got those windows that I masked off, like you can see there on the glass on the front. But everything, everything's working really good on this. I mean, this is a great little kit, no complaints at all. And I thought being this tiny, it would be, not very detailed, but the more I get to looking at it, I'm really happy with it. The last thing I've got to work on here is the little tail gunner position. But it's coming along really nice, you guys. I'm really happy. I'm just trying to think of anything else I can think of to tell you about on this. Not really much. I mean, it's just a fun little project that I was hoping wouldn't take me a lot of time, and so far so good. So in the next video, you guys, I'm going to come back and we're going to work on the base. I'm going to have to run over to Michael's and pick up a little wooden base, and then I'm just going to be using my plaster that you've seen me use before. We'll do some painting on that, and then I've got to kind of set this up a certain way, because right now the plane isn't actually positioned the way it is in the wreck site. In the photographs, it should be kind of tilted something like this, and this tail section should be kind of tilted something like that, where the left hand rudder was kind of dug into the sand and the other one was kind of tilted up something like that. So I have to make sure when I set it up on my plaster that before it completely dries, I gotta have to set it in there and kind of position it like that. It looks like there's like a little bit of a mound or whatever where the plane wound up too, so I gotta try to kind of mimic all that. And then I have to figure out some little details to kind of scatter around the plane that broke off of it when it landed. I've got one of the landing gear that you could see it was laying out front. I've got the engine parts, the propeller and the cylinders from the engines that are going to be laying around the airplane. But I have to come up with a couple more little pieces here and there, just kind of add a little something to it. But we can come up with all that pretty easy. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. I hope you guys like it. It's been a fun project, and looking forward to getting it all finished up. And then, as I mentioned, I'm going to make this in a sort of make sure I glue everything down really good on that base, because I'm going to hang this on the wall after it's done, and that'll be an easy way to display it, and it'll be an interesting conversation piece when somebody sees it. The story of the Lady Be Good. And again, I've watched a little bit more video about it, and a couple people have sent me some links to some articles and books about it. So thanks a lot. I really appreciate that, you guys. A very interesting subject. So all right, I guess that'll be about it for this one. Not a huge update, you guys. We'll see you next time, and until we do, take care and happy modeling, everyone.